Hello, everyone. We are being recorded.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Yo,
Hi, everyone. Hello. Oh,
Hey, hey, look at all these people. There's Taylor, Chrome, Ginger.
Allie,
Four
that's a
exclamation
great
points
background
today.
you have.
I'm not sure how to take that. Enzo, Franchon. Hope I did that okay. Holly's outside. I'm not sure how to take that.
I wish I was outside. That
I
looks so
know.
nice. Oh, with the kids.
Allie is in some junk spaceship with a dog. Cheno,
With a dog.
Juma. It's a dog man,
It's
dog person.
Chewbacca.
Two backwards. Destiny, Micah, Shirley, Tania. I said it right. Go me. We got some good peeps. Got some good peeps in here. Comics. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. This is going to be a fun day.
It is because Caleb is taking the reins, and I'm so happy. So that makes me happy, Caleb.
Good.
Also, sorry that there's a vacuum behind me. I'm gonna say something real quick, and then I'm gonna mute, or maybe I'm trying to figure out when I should do this, if she's coming in this room or not. I think I'll say it. I'll say it now. I'll say it quickly. An announcement that I just put in the Discord is that we're going to be doing a Kidlit Ask Me Anything panel, live Zoom, next Tuesday, July 27th from 2 p.m. No, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And it's with my two illustrator friends, Lauren Pierre and Ann Affert. And Lauren Pierre is a author illustrator, and she just recently signed with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. She has a 3-book graphic novel series coming out, and it's adorable. And I want her to answer your guys' questions about the whole process. And then my friend Ann Appert, who is my agency buddy and my publishing buddy, she has a picture book forthcoming on HarperCollins, her blog in the fall. And she will be there answering questions about putting your portfolio together, because she recently won an honor for the SCBWI Portfolio Showcase. So make sure you put that in your calendars and join us for that. Okay, I'm gonna mute.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really good. Good to know. Okay, fantastic. Well, that's one of the things that we love to offer here is not only the opportunity to learn from just a couple of nerds who love comics and who love to share everything they know about comics, but we bring in all sorts of different people from all sorts of different walks of life who have gotten into the same industry and who also have their own stories to share. Everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different way of getting to where they wound up. And so it's really, really interesting, especially for somebody like me who really values, diverse journeys and, in terms of like career paths and stuff like that. And so that we can share some stuff from you. Unfortunately, Larissa is like a human Rolodex when it comes to crazy, amazing artists.
I didn't even realize how many people I knew. I guess I know a few people.
You know a lot of people, Larissa, who have done crazy, crazy stuff and have gone all over the place, but they ended up, well, at least at a certain point of their career, they ended up all in the same sort of location where they're making something. Artistic Lexicon. Thank you very much, Ryan. Who and now Google knows you, right, Shirley?
Yeah.
That was crazy when we found that out last week. Sorry.
Oh my God. That was on Monday and Tuesday, and that was really a highlight of my week. I wish it were strong enough to keep me going, but it was a highlight. It was really good. I did do a happy dance after it was over and during it, and they were really, the event organizer was really pleased. I did my best that I could. And the funny thing was that like 15 minutes after I completed it, the organizer asked me, can you do one for LinkedIn next? And I said,
You said,
yeah, yes, I can.
sure, let me look that up.
Yes, I think I can do an event for LinkedIn. So yeah, keep it coming. I'll just
So
keep
LinkedIn
showing
is
in.
spelled,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
anyway,
how I do that. Ryan,
so here for Caleb today and him dropping knowledge. And we're going to look at your stuff and we're going to do breakout rooms today too, you guys. You guys get to share and talk amongst your fellow talented classmates. Yeah, LinkedIn's just another tech company. Psh, whatever.
it's the bubble will pop any second now on LinkedIn. The blink of an eye. Anywho, all right.
Can I make
So,
one announcement real quick?
Larissa, I can hear people in the background. Can you mute? I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Hi, Eden, go for it. Sorry.
Yes. I don't know much about this because I'm going to a Q&A tonight for it, which you might still be able to sign up for if you do it in a timely manner. But there is a guild called Women in Animation, and even people identifying as men can join as well. Though the particular thing we're about to talk to, they're strongly encouraging people, Black and people of color, as well as female identifying or non-binary identifying people. But they do, one of the nice things about being in a guild is you get to hear about a ton of jobs in the industry and connect with people in the animation industry. But yeah, they're doing mentorships right now, and it's completely free to guild members, and it only costs $50 for a year, which is pretty sweet for a lot of good resources. And in non-COVID times, they do like mixers and stuff like that, where you can go out and meet people in person. It's a really good investment for your career if you want to go to animation. Yes, Lauren, just animation. I'm sure there's a little bit of overlap with illustration, but I think it is more animation geared. But yes, so there is a Q&A for it tonight, so I can tell you guys a little bit more about it. I'll also post the Women in Animation website if you want to look more into it, and it has different chapters for different cities. So I'm in the San Francisco chapter. Yeah, and I know that the one down south is pretty big if you're in Southern California. So that's all.
Nice. That's fantastic. So how much time do you think they have in order to sign up if they want to do something like that?
You can sign up anytime to be in the guild. I'm going to the Q&A for the mentorship program tonight, so it hasn't started at all yet. This is more just like if you have questions, which I'll probably take notes. If people are interested, just message me on Discord or email me, and I can give you those notes if you can't make it tonight, but are still interested in potentially applying for the mentorship program.
Good call. Thank you so much for dropping that. That's great. I did not come prepared with awesome extracurricular activities that you guys could indulge in.
Just tell us a pun and that'll make up for it.
Tell you a pun.
Or just no, because you can't tell us a pun. Those things just come naturally, right?
Well, is there such thing as a natural pun? I mean, because they kind of are kind of unnatural unto themselves, as I've been told.
It'll happen.
Well, it's just like you can't force it. It's
Yeah,
just,
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
no, it's okay. I mean, you have to. It's like a sponge. You have to squeeze it gently. You know, it's just it's just. I don't
It'll
know.
come. It'll come. I know. We'll get one today from you. For sure.
You're very kind. Okay.
So we're gonna look at work, right?
We are totally going to look at work.
Oh my God, you guys, so much good stuff
Pun
in
and
these
punding.
folders. Stop it, Ash.
So good.
It's coming.
Or style montage. Let me tell you something you already know. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. I'm sorry, I'll stop that. My wife is like literally telling me to shush.
You see my face? I'm cringy.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, artwork. Y'all are talented.
Let me share a screen so I need to, because this past week was like a celebration for everything that this class is kind of about. I love the fact that you guys, every single, last week, the exercise that we gave you guys was kind of loose. We were like, okay, do like 4 or 5 pages, do some exploration of style. It was all about style last week. We said do some character designs, show us a little bit about the world that your story takes place in, and you guys did not fail. Let me pop this into the old share screen here. Puns are never punctual. Taylor, good Lord. It's a little, yeah, Taylor, I'm proud of you, but at the same time, disappointed. Oh, another word for the masks people are wearing these days? Coffee filter. And like with that, like we got 42 people, 24 people, 6 people, everybody's leaving.
It took me a second.
Get a coffee filter. It's a coffee filter. It's a coffee filter, Coral. Sorry, I'm done now. Yeah, no, that one took a minute. It was like a grenade. It was all right, so let me share my thing here. Need to get into the drive. There we are. And of course, I need to sign in again. Yeah, some of you, like we told you guys to do simple stuff, but some of you were just like, what is simple to me? I just got to say, the language that you guys speak when it comes to what you think of when you think of like design or when you think of your own stories, it's so beautiful and so diverse. Every single one of you guys has something different to contribute to this, and that's what makes this class so amazingly fun for myself and for Eden and Larissa. Ryan Nito's back. If that would help a lot. Okay, great. All right, so everybody put it into their own folders because there was so much. Let me drop into my folder real quick. I gave you guys some examples. So let me share this with you real fast of just sort of like what I use to help me out when I create character designs. More than not, when I do character stuff, I tend to all I try to do is create sort of like a communication tool that I can refer back to all the time. So it's mainly like shapes. It's a tool for consistency. Head shapes, body shapes, little things that convey personality or expression. Almost always, I try to shoot for asymmetry. Okay, or little things like this that show tiny bits of world building, like my main character here visiting the old lady, who, by the way, her name is Gertrude Funk, and her name was kind of like a not exactly a portmanteau, but like an amalgam of a couple different women who wanted to become astronauts but couldn't because of sexism. And Wally Funk was the name of the lady who just went up in Blue Origin just a couple days ago. So that was good. G Funk. There you go. Thank you very much, Larissa. Right. So anything exploratory, it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be perfect or set in stone. It's all good. Distance models are acceptable as well. There's one for me. More expression exploration. But enough about me. Let's get on to your stuff. Start with AB.
You guys went through these, and I saw you guys were commenting on each other's work. And I
Yes,
think it's
thank you so
fantastic.
much.
And you absolutely should go through these folders, these files, and look at what everybody's doing because it's phenomenal.
See, this is, I love this. You got tiny little variations in here, AB, regarding shape, chin shapes, cheekbones. Clearly, I mean, these are older characters, so it's a little more sophisticated. But at the same time, I feel like, remember last week when I said, you know, that I was doodling lots of hair and stuff like that on one of my characters, and it used to be simpler, and Larissa immediately said, yeah, you're going to want to go back to that because you will die. It'll, you know, drawing tons and tons of complicated hair stuff will test your patience.
It's like, sorry, I'm just gonna jump in there real
Please.
quick just to emphasize that. It's like the whole, like, why do animated characters like Bugs Bunny have 3 fingers instead of 4? Because that last finger would be ridiculously time consuming to draw and animate on thousands and thousands of papers.
If you're
So
like,
simplify
but it's
it.
only a 4th finger. They could still totally do it. Of course they could do it, but that's 5 minutes times, 10 million drawings that they don't have to do. You know, it's literally, it's that much simpler. And abstracting your characters the way that AB did here is a way to sort of save your sanity over, 1,000 different drawings.
And when you're doing your drawings over and over again, you will eventually simplify them even further, and you'll get to know the shortcuts for drawing your characters. It's just kind of a natural thing that happens. But it's best to go into the design process with that in mind. So yeah, nice work, AB.
Yeah, really, really good job. Love the animal. I do think, AB, that if we wanted to, we could place a little bit more emphasis. Like they tend to have sort of hollow cheeks, a lot of these guys. If you wanted to, you could put a little bit more flesh into the cheek, if only so that when they actually do expressions that are asymmetrical, there's a little bit more squash and stretch. But that's, I don't know. What do you think about that? Larissa, Eden, anybody?
In the cheeks, yeah, I feel like some of them, like, can you go back to the other ones? Like, were you talking about more the animals?
Oh yeah. Well, they've got these long, beautiful jaws, but at the same time, I feel like they could have
A little bit more
a little
form.
jowlier. Or
Yeah, I feel like, okay, so AB, you've got the structure of the spherical form on the head, but I think if you had like an actual another sphere or oval, elliptical egg form for the jaw, that was a constructed shape that you put in within the structure of the characters, that would make them feel a little bit more dimensional and more consistent across the board. So starting with the construction of the spherical form for the base of the, or the cranium of the head is a good thing, but I think maybe just continuing and developing a little bit more of a solid structure for the jaw would create a more solidified feeling.
it's like there's a sort of like a uniform skeleton under there for all 3 animals, even though they're different species. Just, if we just need to play around with it a little bit. Maybe the squirrel has bigger eyes, little things like that. But for the most part, I really, really like this. Let me switch over to Allie. Is it Han or is it Han? Is it
It's Han.
Han. Okay, good. Is it Han the way that Lando says it, or is it Han the way that Han says it? Oh, oh God, it's a Star Wars joke, and you're doing a Star Wars. Never mind.
That was not intentional.
No, it's serendipitous. It's beautiful, like all things are. Again, I really like this. If you can you flip this? Just give it a quick little, 90-degree, left turn counterclockwise. I love that, you do have a lot of variation in the shape language. It's, it's nice, it's sketchy. This guy is big and blocky. He's got a square jaw. This one's a little bit pointier. It's got beautiful little heart-shaped noggin. You got good cranial shapes. War Star. Oh boy, Neato. Yeah, that's the one. We got Mirwan, who obviously is a little pirate boy and or pirate person, and they're hopping around and doing all sorts of rope things. They got boats and things. Am I reading that right or not? You're muted, Allie.
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay. I dig pirates. Pirates are awesome. And then we've got a kick butt dragon. Dragon Balls is Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Y. Dragon Ball Z. Seen in Chinese vessel. Okay, yeah. So it has sort of like a junk-shaped, a finned, so to speak, sail. Probably paper or silk, something like that. Sail collapses. There you go. So, but the idea. Okay, all right. I really like the way you're pulling a little bit of reference in here. That's good. I like this a lot. Make it your own. Don't just be try and think of a way to give us a silhouette of the whole ship. The ship itself, and you'll probably be like, oh God, a whole ship, really? Don't worry about that. The ship itself can be a character just like these guys are. All right. Think about like we talk about this in character design class a lot. What's the small segment? What's the big segment? What's the medium segment? Like a snowman. Okay. And you can all take them and sort of juggle them around a little bit. And if you do that with like a standard, like a Chinese junk, for example, if you do that with a junk and you sort of stagger it around, suddenly it becomes an entirely new thing and it's yours. And it has different personality and it can belong to a different story if you want to. So anyway, so think about stuff like that. Maybe it's got a giant sail or a tiny little sail, little things like that that could make it belong to your story and nobody else's, make it unique. Anyway, great job, Allie. Nice work. Makes me very happy. Oh, did you guys hear that Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas broke up? Yeah. I saw the headline for that and I'm like, why would you just say that? You could just, instead of saying Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, you could just say Ben Ana split. Ben Ana split. Thank you, Eden, for laughing at my stupid joke. I appreciate that. That was my horrible dad joke of the day. I literally heard about that earlier, and I hope you guys hurt. I hope it caused you pain.
I didn't, because I'm like so here for Ben and JLo. That just gives me some weird renewed hope in life.
You're Balo, ride or die. Look at this gorgeous thing. Look at that mustache. Look at that triumphant stash. That is magnificent. I'm here just for the stash. Goal of every instructor, make your students wish they hadn't shown up for class. That's my goal. Jeff Larkin, I am proud of you for being stalwart and for not giving up. 10 out of 10 stash, 100%. Taylor is on the money. Lori I'm here for Lori. Dog Sport, is that the name of the dog? Because it better be, because it's gorgeous. Yes, this makes me happy. What the crap is this? Wheat straw? Okay, never mind. Lori, who's Lori? I'm here for Wheat straw. Who the heck is Lori? Weasel and Wheat straw? I want Weasel. I just want a comic with Weasel and Wheat straw, where they like either cause crimes or fight crimes. Probably both. I love it. Oh, look at this. This is so great. Okay. This is looking so great. Anita, I do think that you're in the middle of deciding how to simplify these guides. And that's actually a pretty great place to be. You're in the middle of trying to figure out how to abstract them. Because dog here, obviously that's kind of traced over a photograph. You need to figure out what's going to stay and what needs to go. There's a term called gestalt, and it's a psychological term, believe it or not. It literally means, a philosophical term. It literally means nothing can be added, nothing can be taken away. You often hear of this term in like logo design and things like that, gestalt, or in terms of like, psychoanalysis. Think of a way that you can add, like you're sculpting, you've got these gorgeous bases here. Think of a way to, thank you very much, Larissa. You can all think of a way that what you can sculpt, what you can add, what you can remove. Because to be honest with you, these are looking really great. But I know that dog could be pushed and pulled a little bit more. Other than that, these are kind of great. I love them. I love them all. But Wheat Straw, sorry, the name of the comic is not Wheat Straw. Wheat Straw and Friends. Ariel. Ooh, okay, so this looks a little bit more sophisticated. Zinnia Vanags, that's a mouthful, but I love it. Look at this beautiful, look at that face. Proportions, very, very nice. Natalia Irmgard. Kingsley the Third. Sorry about that. Don't be mad at me, Ariel. I love these guys, please. These are really, really good. I detect a little bit of lack of confidence when it comes to hands. We need to work on that. But these are looking so, oh my gosh. Uh-oh. Who's this? This looks like a bad guy, or maybe he's a good guy, and he needs us to fix him. Holly knows what I'm talking about. Lauren knows what I'm talking about. Enzo, you're on the same page. Franchon, he just needs hugs. Lots and lots of hugs. Egypt, yeah. Siobhan, he just needs high fives. He's like, boosh. All right, this is looking great. Oh, he's the main protagonist. Okay, interesting. So, resting bitch face. Because he's super duper tall. Hair's going to be Axel. Yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, it's not out here like Axel, but it's close. It's like, again, it's not as abstract as Axel is, but it's getting there. I love the fact that you've got a little bit of little proppage there, properties. Last one. Oh, thank you. Oh my Lord. Look at this. Look at you. You're not hiding your hands anymore.
Nice.
You know, I feel like, I don't know how much drawing or mileage you put into this since just last week, but this is 4 drawings in, and boom, you're showing a lot of progress just in this very, very limited amount of iterations of your characters. Not only that, but you've also got some really good stuff regarding the silhouettes. I love what's going on here. I know I'm talking way too much about all this stuff, but to be honest with you, I love the contrast. I love the shape language. Even if you guys removed all the detail from the inside of the silhouette of these guys, you'd still know who these were. And I feel like that's really, really important to remember. It's that gestalt thing again. You know, it's sort of like Popeye, Olive Oil, you know, Felix the Cat, Mickey Mouse. If you filled in the silhouette, you could still tell who these guys were. That would be Natalia Irmgard, and no one else. I'm proud of you. Yeah, thank you, Ariel. This is great. Ariel, am I saying that right? No, don't shrug. Am I saying it? Correct me, please. You're muted, dude. Muted. Ariel, unmute. There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. My parents call me Ariel. It's spelled Ariel, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, but my parents call me Caleb. It's spelled Caleb. So please,
Oh.
you can.
Well,
tell
yeah,
me.
Ariel is the way it's pronounced. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, people have like corrected me if they're from the Middle East. They're like, no, you're saying it wrong. And I'm like, I'm like, okay.
It doesn't bother. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Ariel or Ariel. It's fine.
El Gioma, why are you dragging me? That was smart to take the sweater and the socks as a silhouette. Yeah, right? Good call there, Taylor. Look at you, thinking like a character designer. All right. Oh man, we got just so much to do. Brigitta. Oh my Lord. Right? This is just, Melissa Rose is here for it. Love those. Yes. Shy, sporty. Yeah, they're like a little tomboy, loves cats and video games.
And the tonal values on this, the way that they're designed with the blacks, the
Right?
grays, and the whites, just like we did in visual storytelling.
Just like we
It's
did in
really good.
you take a dark, you take a black, you take a white, and then you take one or two middle values, and like literally that's it. Artsy, bi-curious, Korean American, strict Catholic parents, spunky, fun.
Can I
mean,
go back
it-
and make my graphic novel just black and white?
Yeah, do it. But you also have to make it like woodcut. So there you go.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Mr. P. That's unfortunate. Emma's dad. Funny, crafty, woodworky. Yes! I'm gonna build a cabinet. It'll take 24 months. Stay at home dad. He's funny. Right, I know who you, and his hair is thinning. He's a little round. You know, Brigitta, if you wanted to put me in your comic, you should have just asked. Grumpiest fat dad face ever. The steam coming out the ears. Beautiful. Beautiful. Magnificent. My gosh, this is just so great. I'm so happy. Does anybody, Eden, did you have one that you would like to call out?
I've been slowly going through them
Siobhan, this
as
is
you have, but yeah,
terrible.
this one is the one that I really liked.
Siobhan.
Yeah, I
look at
know.
you.
I'm kind of biased because I got to hear Siobhan's story pitch when we did the breakout rooms. So I was especially like looking for Siobhan's, but you know, I heard about his story before I really got to see him show his style. So seeing the style made me even more excited.
Okay, are these like magical are they like magical cooking wizards? Is that what the idea is? Or
I'll
are they
let
musicians?
if Siobhan's here, I'll let Siobhan explain it because it is his
Fine.
story.
Siobhan, give us the elevator pitch, my friend. Give us like a 30-second story about.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, do it.
Okay, right. So there's this guy called Xavier. He recently graduated culinary school, so he went to Japan kind of for like this internship of a lifetime. But then he realized like while in the kitchen, every time at dinner service, there's like yokai that possess the food to come alive, and they kind of have to like protect the kitchen against the food
Oh my god.
until dinner service is over.
It's
Yeah,
an Onigiri golem.
So good.
Oh no, it's a ramenoid. The ramen noodle beast.
Oh my god, that onigiri monster is like
It's
the
the
carb
best.
monster who comes
with
after
the-
me.
It's not a loincloth. I can't remember what they're called. For oh shoot. For sumo wrestling, I'm drawing a blank. Oh well, it's oh, and I love that they can stack on each other like snow. Oh my gosh, this is great. All right, Siobhan, you are cheating us if you don't turn this into something. It has to be something, even if it's like a 10-page little story about like, oh no, the Shumai is haunted.
Well,
know-
we are. We're going to make it into a comic
There we
right
okay.
here
Well,
in
this
this
is-
class.
I cannot wait to see what happens.
Yes,
gonna
and
be so
Siobhan
good.
had some pretty fun thumbnails. So that's yeah, the breakout rooms are fun because we get to like, you know, it's cool to see all the stuff in the Google folders, but it's exciting when you hear people like tell their own stories.
Oh, here.
That enthusiasm.
Tania, look at this great stuff. Oh, there's Owl Boy. I remember Owl Boy. Owl Kid. Owl, you going?
That's from our character design class.
I know.
Love
It's
it.
so beautiful. All right. This is gorgeous. It is now 2:30 though, and I could do this for the next 5 hours. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break you guys up into little breakout rooms.
How
What do
many?
you guys- I beg your pardon?
How many people in a room?
Let's do 4 people per room.
Okay, let's see.
We're going to give you guys
4
20
people per room.
minutes. Actually, we'll give you guys till 3, so 25 minutes. Take a couple minutes each. At least 5 minutes each to sort of just go through your character designs. Try it. Be mindful. Try and stick to like 30 seconds per slide, and then pause at the end so that people can ask questions or say, "Why'd you do this?" or have you thought about this? You know, little things like that, so that people can do constructive criticism. And that way, everybody can have enough time to share their ideas. And Larissa, Eden, and I will we'll
About.
cycle through.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got 10 breakout rooms created for like 4 to 5 participants per room. It is now 2:36. So we're gonna go until what, 3 or
Till 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Okay. Off you go. See ya.
Great.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Raven, you need to go in a room. Oh, not joined. Move to room 2.
Hello.
Why? Thank God we're recording it now and not while we were discussing the B movie, which I just mentioned, continuing the curse. We're all going to die in 7 days. Anyway, I'm so alarmed by the existence of this dang thing. And I'm sorry, I'll find center, finding my animal. I'm a small fuzzy bear. There we go. All right, I'm good. Everybody good? Channel, you good? Ryan? Everybody, Allie's good?
Are you good?
Siobhan, I don't know, man. I
What
don't know.
happened in the
I've never
breakout
seen the B
rooms?
movie.
Did we get blown away?
But
Did
I
we just
know
get
enough about
overwhelmed
the
with
B
all the
movie that I
juiciness?
know it shouldn't have been made. It's like there are some stories that, you know, it's like this class is all about celebrating stories, and there are some stories, and I want you guys all to know this, that shouldn't leave your head. And the B movie is one of those stories.
Oh,
Monique, you're laughing, but this is not funny. I personally love Bleach was Human. Courtney, there's the door. Just alarmed. I'm just alarmed. Okay, anyway, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. I'm just gonna say, you know, you can love a B movie. That's fine with me. If B movie can't hurt you, Caleb, look at me. It has hurt me. Okay? Look at, does this look like do I look normal to you? The B movie did this. All right, anyway, so I'm done. Let's move on.
You better believe it.
I just,
God damn it,
Ryan, this is
Ryan.
all your fault.
You are fired.
Go to your
Anyway.
quarter, Ryan.
Seriously, you owe us a quarter for the amount of stress that you just
B
put in my.
movie is now officially going into the same closet as the last Airbender movie, which
Thank
is we do not speak of it.
AB.
Okay, we
Hi.
need to
How you
go. We need to
doing?
go.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay, so look, I'm going to do this as fast as I can.
We triggered
We
Caleb.
might need to. Let me see if I can. I might need to scoot a couple of these over a little bit. Hold on. All right. I'll do this as fast as I can. All right. So last week we discussed character. We discussed style. We were talking a lot about how to tell our stories as efficiently as possible. All right. One of the things we didn't really spend that much time on was the things that happen outside the ring of the characters. In other words, like environments. How do we create an illusion of reality in a two-dimensional space? Okay. Siobhan, don't get me started. You guys, this is not therapy. Okay, we're here to talk to you guys about comics and to find your inner animal and be calm and love each other.
Is anybody here from the Drawing for Animators class? Because this kind of aligns with what we're doing in our Drawing for Animators class this week with our homework, which was drawing backgrounds, characters and backgrounds. So if not, then no worries. But that's what we're doing.
No worries. Okay, so here's what we got. let's talk a little bit about depth, and we'll talk a little bit about order as well. Can everybody see see my little keynote? All right. Okay, so basically this lecture, and I'm going to try and get it as short as I can, like tops like 20 minutes, is to investigate how to create and find ways of strengthening what is known as the depth illusion. The illusion of three-dimensional space created on a two-dimensional surface, namely paper or a screen. Okay, it's not really going to be on perspective rules or techniques like vanishing points, horizon lines, anything like that. Most of you guys already have a pretty good idea about how to wrestle with things like that, or you have tools that can help you. Like there are, I think, pretty much every single software package that you have, from Clip Studio to Procreate to Photoshop, has some sort of perspective tool that you can use in order to simplify the process. But sometimes, despite employing, everything you know about perspective, the idea of actually establishing depth, and we're not just talking about backgrounds, we're talking about depth. Making it look like perspective is converging onto the background, making all your lines obediently converge onto the horizon on a carefully placed vanishing point, dutifully following all the rules, and there can still be no illusion of depth. You can still make it look flat. So what we're going to try and do today is we're going to try and figure out how we can avoid that. We're going to troubleshoot our own drawings in order to figure out how to add a sense, or the illusion rather, of depth. All right, so the first thing you want to discuss is that with the depth illusion is that you need to develop what's known as a two-dimensional language. Okay, it's peculiar. A lot of it tends to be a little persnickety, and a lot of people have their own style on how to approach two-dimensional language. Sometimes it's complicated, it's got its own psychology, but in the eagerness to create a successful image, we get impatient, okay? And we contemplate mentally we contemplate all the stuff, the fascinating nuances of like figure gestures, of the setting, the backgrounds, the vehicles, props, so on. And it's easy to forget that in the end, it has to be simple. All these three-dimensional little dreams end up flat. The piece of paper or the screen, whatever we work on, is kind of like, it acts like a bottleneck. All right, it's a dimensional bottleneck. It really, really is. Your imagination is so much more powerful, it can actually overwhelm the ability to translate what's in your brain onto a simple two-dimensional surface. And one of your main jobs is to contend with this process of translating your images from your brain to the viewer, to the audience, okay? Hopefully I'm not getting too flowery. Does that make sense to everybody so far?
No, that totally makes sense. In fact, we were struggling with another artist in this class this week with the overwhelmment of the imagery in the brain and not being able to get it onto the page.
Right.
That is a common thing.
It's totally common. It happens to everybody. So please, if you feel like you can get lost, or your drawings, no matter how precise your perspective or whatever, it still looks flat to you, or it still looks flat to somebody who's looking at it. Well, you have it's your opportunity to try to edit, to stage yourself, to figure out what you can leave out. Again, what we talked about before, the idea of a gestalt sometimes means leaving out what would be in a photograph, right? This isn't photography. We're not doing realism here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to do something better. We're trying to convey an idea, a story. And in order to do that, we have to do it simply. There are lots of things we have to omit in the translation between what's in our brain and what happens on the page. It's not enough to just trace or copy what you think of as reality, literally, or the exact shapes from a movie still, or to achieve depth. You soon discover that if you try to employ that technique, something's going to be lacking. And what's lacking is that internal editing, okay? The process of accommodating perceived forms to the limitations of your two-dimensional language. Okay, so and this happens a lot in animation as well. We were just talking in one of the breakout rooms about Genndy Tartakovsky. A lot of Genndy Tartakovsky cartoons, like Samurai Jack, most of the time people move from right to left or left to right. They very seldom move in what's known as Z space, which is forward or backward. Okay, if they do, then the camera tracks with them. In many styles of drawing found in animation, we strive to it suggests that three-dimensional form. And that's what this, by indicating depth or Z space. And that's what this whole lecture is meant to be about. One of the things we want to do are establish markers. Well, let's talk about spacing first, okay? Okay, so here we have 3 planes. Doesn't look like 3 planes though, does it? Okay, that's because they're all parallel and they're all facing us in the exact same way. If we take those planes and we angle them, though, okay, or if we diminish them towards a vanishing point, it suggests the illusion of depth.
This is so peculiar. This is cool.
Well, the idea is that it doesn't need to, you don't really need to draw a vanishing point. You don't need to draw a horizon line. All you need is like an idea of where it is. You need take your pen and put a little tick mark where you want things to disappear to. All right, or 2 tick marks of where the horizon is. That's all you need. As long as things are diminishing towards that area, it'll look like the illusion of depth. It will convey the illusion. All right, so problems, often come out when everything is when you draw things too flat. There are even elements that were significantly conveyed in today's little character designs, where everybody tends to draw their characters either facing us or at a 3/4. Okay, and that tends to be, that's habit. Okay, I want you to replace those habits by angling things in different ways. All right, take the camera, figure out where that horizon line is. Even if you're drawing a character or a head or a box, a car, a vehicle, a prop, anywhere, and place the horizon line, the vanishing point, somewhere other than right behind it. Okay, because otherwise it'll look like a simple cutout shape. You don't want it to look like a sticker or a decal. Everything, here, everything looks like they're layered on top of each other because the planes are parallel. Okay, they're all stuck together facing the same way. Here, however, there looks like there's almost an evident foreground, ground plane, and background. Okay, so what I want you guys to remember that is that in order to convey depth, you're going to need all 3 of those things, even if it's just suggested, or when they're kind of, or when one thing is present but the others are obscured or tangled into each other. I know it's kind of I might be, I feel like I'm looking at an optical illusion. It kind of is. It is an optical illusion. It's the illusion of a 3-dimensional surface on a 2-dimensional one. Yeah, so choose what you're communicating. Remember, every single image, every single panel of your comic has to have a star. Who is the star? What is the star? Is it a prop? Is it a character? Is it the relationship between 2 characters? And everything else is kind of just like gestural. Think about that. All right, using all the planes and axes. All right, so spacing, that was pretty important. Taking the planes and moving them around so that it looks like there is enough space and depth. For depth and compositional interest, it's often helpful to have forms moving in all 3 axes rather than just like 1 or 2. What I tend to suggest to people for doing that is like, imagine like a pile of cardboard boxes and they're tumbling toward you. Okay, or even if not cardboard boxes, just pieces of paper. Okay. All right, so if all 3 planes or axes are represented in a drawing, it generally gives a greater feel of space and depth. All right, here's another optical illusion, right? Here we've got a cube, or something that looks like a cube, right? It has 3 dimensions, or it looks like it has 3 dimensions. But this little perspective exercise on the right, how many dimensions there are evident? How many planes, I should say? Just 1. Okay, it looks like a bunch of pieces of paper or monitors, but they're all pointing in the same direction. There is some depth, but not very much. However, if you choose to use all 3 axes, right, X, Y, and Z, suddenly these surfaces, these planes, look like they have a lot more contrast and depth. There are 3 surfaces now, not just 1. Other things regarding depth can be obtained by adding little rims. Like, you see how I altered like the inside of the, where things are overlapping, the line art is a little thinner than the outside. That's another way of establishing depth. Thicker line weights can sometimes suggest that things are closer together or that they're kind of bundled. A lot of artists tend to put thicker line weights on everything that's in the foreground. If things are in the midground, it's a slightly thinner line weight. If things are in the background, then detail has diminished so much that they use the thinnest line weight. It can be simple, you're right, Taylor, but that doesn't mean it can be easy. In fact, simple is often the opposite. Simple comes from making so many mistakes that you have to sort of relearn what good design is. And it's you have to learn from your own errors. You have to fail so many times that you have no choice but to become an artist in order to solve the equation, in order to figure out how to make the illusion of depth. All right, what else is there? Okay, cropping. How much time do I got left? No, oh, good. Okay, all right. Cropping, the way you choose to frame your scene, can make or break depth. You can easily crop out 1 or 2 planes, like the ground plane, wall plane, depending on how you position the panel. But it's all too easy to lose depth information that way, especially if you're like doing a close-up. I'll give you some examples here in a little bit. Seam lines. Another way to give the viewer's eye clues about depth is what are known as, or what I tend to call, seam lines. Literally, it can mean like a seam line on a jacket, or anything that sort of indicates the topography or the, not really topography, but the contours of an object. Okay, it just sort of helps to explain the surface to your viewers, especially if something's complex, like it's wrinkled or it has, or it's deformed, or if it's eroded, little things like that. It kind of acts like a cross section. Wrapping. It's the same thing as seam lines, but instead you use 3-dimensional forms instead of just flat surface lines, like a pattern on a shirt. You know, like if your character has like a plaid or a madras shirt, you can show those patterns sort of like wrapping around each other, and then partially disappearing, little things like that. It's basically the idea of like suggesting a texture or a motif or a pattern on a surface. And it doesn't need to be like a fabric. It can be like, giving the surface to like an orange, or a chrome ball or something like that. Whew. Spatial honesty. Okay, how do you do this? You have to place things in space so that they actually represent reality. You really literally have to pick a horizon line, even if it's just a little tick, you know, a little mark somewhere and a vanishing point. And the thing is, you have to stick to it. You can't invent your way out of it. And make sure that that you draw through your shapes. You have to sort of imagine that you're drawing transparently. Construct 3-dimensional forms, intersections. A lot of you guys are really, really good at doing center lines down a face, but it tends to morph a little bit when that face, or when that head structure is rotated more than like 3/4. When it's pointed down or pointed up, then you try to sort of fudge it a little bit. You have to be honest. Where, where do the planes disappear to? Where do they join? Where do they intersect? We all live in the same universe where all planes intersect. So think about the spatial honesty about where your vanishing point, where your horizon lies, even if you're drawing something just as simple and as like a globe or a ball, an orange, or a head. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about all like 6 of these things: perspective, scaling, and proportion. And I've got this beautiful example here from this artist by the name of Paul Revouche. I don't think we all live in the same universe, actually. The problem is we do, Larissa. Just some of us think we don't. I know. Sad face. But the thing is we do, and that's actually a good thing. Because, there are some of us who don't want to learn that, but at the same time, they often have no choice but to learn it. If they choose not to, then they've got a lot of hard lessons ahead. All right. No more vague booking. Let's get on with this. Look at this troubled young man. Now, this is Paul Revouche. This is not me. Why is he a troubled young man? Well, there's a lot going on in this tiny little drawing. Things haven't really lined up for him, have they? Now he's a little perturbed. Perhaps his spatial dishonesty has finally caught up with him. For those of you that have been wondering what the heck I've been talking about by all these previous terms, see if you can help him sort this mess out. All right? Legioma. Unmute yourself for a second. Pick out something here that bugs you about this picture. What's one thing that pops out at you?
Let's say the tangent lines, some of them. And yeah, it's not joining, it's not reaching the chair is not reaching the back properly, and something is sticking out, a pipe sticking out from behind the wall.
Yep.
I don't know.
This let's just start with this pipe. Okay, the pipe is connected to the ceiling here, but then it disappears behind this corner. And if you use the other little landmarks in this picture as indications of how deep this little crevice is, the space between this corner and this wall, there's no way that this pipe could fit back there, especially if the contours on the pipe are shaped the way that they are. Ceiling light is way very good, Legioma. You get a high five. Yes. Yeah, the longer you look, the more you're like, what? It is confusing to look at. The ceiling light is too close to the wall. Exactly. This would literally be hitting the wall because the base is touching the corner, and yet the dome, the shade rather of the light doesn't seem to be. Yeah, the more you look at it, the more your expression matches his. Exactly. You are a troubled young man as well, even. Same. This is what is meant by spatial dishonesty. Okay, and this happens to prose all the time. This happens to everybody all the time if they decide to fudge it. Okay, literally, none of this, hardly anything in this picture actually makes sense. From the location of the little briefcase to the T-square jutting out, which should be broken because it should be jutting against the wall, but it's not. Yeah, the right foot in front of the suitcase? Yeah, exactly. There's tons of things in here that make zero sense, but that's the point. That's the point. And I will put the answer at the end of the lecture here, just so we can check it out. Okay, so that's where, yeah, my brain hurt. Well, don't worry about it so much. Let's move on to the next one. Arrangement of masses and proportions. Okay, so basically when you have what I want you guys to do when you think about the way things are, the way that you have volume in your panels and the proportions in your panels, I want you to think about how they are going to be overlapping. Okay, I want you to think about how you stage or block your shapes. Imagine like it's a presentation on a stage or in like a little box, okay? Just imagine that you have to think of an arrangement that allows for the characters to act. Yeah, Legioma, you're right. No, Paul Ravoche is a demon. And what people tend to forget that when they're drawing their panels is that every stage, every black box, every movie set, every television set is 90% empty space. There has to be a lot of empty space in every panel. It can't be so chock-a-block full with detail and stuff that your characters run out of room to move, or that you run out of places to sort of like suggest detail rather than put it in, rather than to, get lost in the greeblies. What's next? Oh yeah, implied lines, very good. In a drawing, you can also make use of actual lines on paper, not just implied lines. But what you can also do in order for depth is sort of like what I said before. You can have like an implied trail. Like imagine a flock of birds that they look like they're following each other towards the horizon, and they actually look like they are following a contour line. Anytime you put like a row of dots, it'll suggest to the reader, instead of just depending on what shape you use, either like a slant, or it'll imply like a slope or a curve, little things like that. I feel like I'm running out of time. No, 3:30, still good. You're right. Okay, silhouetting. Again, this has a lot to do with overlapping. You don't want, and this happens, I see this a lot, not just in comic panels, but also in character design sheets or in turnarounds. Typically what happens is people tend to obscure the silhouettes of the characters or the objects that they're meant to be designing. They'll have somebody like hold their hand out in front, or they'll hide their hands behind their back, which is more often than not, and it's a crime. Don't do that. They try to obscure the depth by hiding the silhouette. If somebody's jumping at you, they will hide the hands in the middle of the chest, like this. So that if you removed all the detail from inside, my hands would be completely obscured. All right, what you want to do is you want to try and break out of certain silhouettes. And this is, again, a part of like establishing staging. You want to be able to call out silhouettes at depending on like how much detail and how close they are to the camera. All right, repetition. I feel like I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I need to show you guys some examples here. So before I jump ahead here, let me show you guys a really quick couple of examples of probably one of the greatest comic artists ever when it came to making really fast and easy examples of how to do these perspective and depth exercises. Oh, but before I go on, Larissa, any questions or comments too much? Am I being too vague or anything like that?
You're fantastic. Continue. Proceed.
All right, cool. All right. Well, I've got a lot of things I could show you here. Let me see if I can bring up just a couple of examples. The artist that I'm talking about, of course, is Jean Giraud, the late great comic genius who was known as Moebius or Moebius.
Mobius. How do you spell that again? It's
Moebius, no?
That's it. It's one of everybody's favorite comic artists, Taylor. Yeah, Moebius, Moebius. Depends on how you. He pronounced it Moebius, but it's a made up word. Just think of it. Yeah, an absolute icon. The powers behind Moebius were due to his ability to do exactly what I'm talking about. He worked crazy fast, but he was able to do this in a way and establish an illusion of depth using very few tools. Let me show you guys just a couple of really quick examples. Okay, literally almost everything I've said so far is evident in this one image. Okay, here we have, it's just a very simple, fun, kind of surreal sci-fi image where you've got a guy in a floating bubble, with lots of greeblies and junk sitting inside it. It's expelling gas, and there's a fun bird or a drone or something like that flying alongside it. But look at the background. Okay, so we've got we do have a perspective. The vanishing point is off the surface of the picture. So it's been cropped. Whoops, why does it keep doing that? Anyway, there are established seam lines on the inside of this fun little hemisphere on the inside of the dome. There's even you could call the interior outline of the dome kind of like a seam line as well. The idea though is that it looks like it's wrapped. There is the suggestion of texture on the trees. There are more lines at the bottom of those trees on the like underside of each of those clusters of these. They don't look like evergreens. Sorry, deciduous trees, because the idea is that that's where the shadows are being cast. Okay, and that's what the texture is basically texture and whatever catches shadow are essentially synonymous. Okay, wrapping. I don't really see a whole lot of wrapping as far as like texture goes, unless you want to, or motif, unless you want to talk about the inside of this little control pod here. I mean, because we do see a little bit of repetition there. Spatial honesty. Yeah, he doesn't fit everything in here. There are some questions like exactly how big some of these things are, like the bird, little things like that. But for the most part, it's actually pretty honest. There's quite a bit of wrapping as well here with like every single time there's like a building or something like that, he uses the multitude of services or things like that to establish some sort of idea of like a cutaway or some sort of cross section. This is where the stairs are. This is where the roof is. But one of the big things here is that, especially if you notice, there's a lot of detail down here closer to the camera, and all the detail diminishes the further away you get until the point where he doesn't even bother with like little half circles anymore for the trees. Literally, it's like, and he breaks up the monotony and the repetition by establishing these fun, tall, like cypress-looking trees, or maybe the occasional little, palm or something like that. It's not the same shape of tree over the entire picture. But there's enough repetition there to suggest that these things off in the distance, they're not buildings, those are trees. Why? Because that's what these are. There's enough differentiation in the shapes that the silhouettes break out. There's a lot of character behind all this. But what I love here is also that the diminishing of the detail. That when things approach the horizon, there's a sense of diminishing returns. You can't put all that detail in there. There has to be a place where a point where you stop. And with Mebius, it's almost always like either a third from the top or a third from the bottom. Depends, this guy is way off the ground, so it's a third from the bottom. But it's kind of gorgeous, isn't it? Here, let me switch to the next one. Where did Mebius learn how to do this stuff? He was a kid, he lived in Mexico for almost 10 years. And he loved drawing the desert. He loved roaming around. Mexico, everybody thinks of as being kind of like desert or unarable. It's actually the furthest thing from it. He went everywhere and he drew these savannas. He would draw jungle. He would draw these beautiful deserts. And he was obsessed with these variations in the landscapes. The closer you get to the camera here, he spreads it out. This isn't a great example of wrapping. These little brush on the ground plane here, it almost looks like a texture, right, or a pattern. And the further to the horizon it gets, the smaller they become, and the less detail they have until finally they're just tiny little blobs, and eventually just little specks, little dots. And he did everything this way. Cityscapes, buildings, remember there's a good way of using detail and there's a bad way of using detail. And this is a really, really good way to establish it. Did he bother putting the leaves under the shadow of this tree? No, he didn't. He could have. It probably wouldn't have hurt. But the tree's not the star of the show. This guy is. The little weird space cowboy with his drink and his fun little space pod and his robo parrot. But you get the idea. It's all about, he figures out, what needs to have the highest amount of contrast. And literally everything else is secondary at best.
I want to say something because we're going to talk about composition and the drawing for animators and illustrators class, but there's a hierarchy happening here with the focal points and the character under the tree is not something you see immediately because that's not the contrast. It's almost like he's an important part, obviously, but he's almost like an Easter egg, I think, in my mind, because you have the moon, which then leads you to the top of the tree, which then leads you to the bird, which then leads you to the little globy thing that he was in. And then those lines there direct you to that tree. And then you say, oh, there's the human.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful way of, at least in my mind, creating a composition where you're using this hierarchy of visual elements to lead the eye to discovery of something. And it's not necessarily the first thing I see, but it is definitely something that is seen in the process of your eye moving about this beautiful imagery.
Fantastic. Beautifully said, Larissa. The picture itself is one gorgeous composition. And the human, our little cowboy, isn't necessarily the first thing you see, but it's certainly not the highest area of contrast. That definitely belongs to, yes, moon, tree, bubble, and then everything sort of points to our guy. But there's so much to love about this. And the main reason why I particularly love it is because it is deceptively simple. Anyway, almost all of his work is a lot like that. Let me see. Oh, where did it happen to my thing here? There we go. All right, so repetition, silhouettes, implied lines, almost arrangements of masses and proportions. Look at Mebius. I thought it was interesting, the bird, the spaceship, the dragonflies, monotone. Yeah, well, Mebius tended to play around with color. When digital art came onto the scene, he was obsessed with it. He loved it so much. And so a lot of these later pictures of his are digitally colored, And he played around a lot with nuance and things like that. So yeah, it's absolutely beautiful to look at. You're absolutely right. And especially when it comes to like working with color and monotone. But he tended not to paint. He tended just to sort of like fill things up with flat color. That sort of goes to his roots, the atomic style of the bande dessinée. Oh, Sarah Steinberg's got a bolt. No problem. All right. Troubleshooting. Let's talk about it. What can you avoid in order to make your pictures better? Okay. One, tangents. And I'll give you guys some beautiful examples of this in a few minutes. Tangents, basically where arcs and lines, especially things that are on different focal planes, tend to rub up against each other. Or if they overlap, they barely overlap and they need to overlap more. All right, again, I'll give you guys some examples. Lineups, where things tend to center on each other when they really shouldn't need to be. Where things are aligned with each other, especially this happens in crowd scenes, this happens in forests, happens in cityscapes, where it can happen in anything really, where things line up, but they're unintentional, and it drags the eye. It tends to put a burden on the composition. Centering, exactly the same thing, where things are aligned on different focal planes, different than a tangent, where things are like centered and they don't need to be. And as a result, it can flatten things, just like the rest of these can. But this is a major one where it actually can make the viewer question what they're actually looking at. Equalities. What does equality mean when it comes to troubleshooting depth? Let me give you an example. If you squint, a lot of this detail disappears. Oh no. Can everybody see this okay?
No, I'm still seeing the tree.
Oh no, really? Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and I just pointed out how the moonlight is hitting the tree and the shadow, and this shadow is not properly placed, but it didn't matter because
Right, I stopped sharing. Can you guys still see me again?
we see you.
All right, let me try this again.
There.
All
Is
right,
this a good use of detail? No.
Is this a good use of detail? Think about how Möbius would do this, okay? Typically what Möbius would do is he would say, okay, where is the star of the show? Is it in the foreground? Is it in the midground? Is it in the background? He would pick one, right? And that's where the detail would be. Everything else would be suggested, or maybe it would be filled with, silhouette. It would be spotted with black. Yeah, it's too busy. In other words, everything here has an equal amount of detail in it. Everything here is competing with everything else. And as a result, the whole picture is flattened. There is no variation in line weight. I mean, there is some. If you squint, the line weights, the outlines of the tree trunks are a little bit thicker, mainly just because of the suggested texture and things like that. But that's really kind of it. That's about the only real thing that kind of jumps in the way of this overwhelming, just sort of like flat level of detail here.
Eden says it hurts to look at, so you got to change the slide.
A lot of things. Yeah, I've shown you guys a lot of painful images here. Uncomfortable cropping and overlapping. Too many or too few overlaps. Again, this is about, these all come back to like tangents and places where you crop things, overlap things. One of the big things is when it comes to when this is something I learned very, very late, is like when it comes to like a human head, for example, you don't want to have anything directly behind the human head. Like if they're standing in front of a window, for example, don't put a vertical plane or a line go right through the middle of their head. Or have something bisect their head, or have their head cropped by the edge of the panel. You always want to think about what the subject matter is and why it's important. You don't want to crop things out, unfortunately, like you're an amateur photographer. Too many, too few overlaps. Again, if you have too many overlaps, the book that the character is flipping through suddenly looks like it's it looks like an accordion instead of a book. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I knew I was taking too long. And lastly, of course, contradicting the perspective. Again, don't invent your way out. All right, you have to remember the troubled young man that we just looked at. Okay, you have to be honest. Be honest when it comes to the depth. If you set a around anything in focus, like a character, to make them easy to see. Yeah, they tend to. A light outline. They do that a lot in comics. They call that a halo. If you look up comic coloring or comic inking, look up what's known as the halo. A lot of comic artists tend to think of that as cheating, but it's actually, I think it's totally legit. Yeah, it's been around for ages. All right, so here's some really, really quick examples before I jump off into the assignment or for the exercise. Okay, here's another really painful drawing. All right, you've got tangents, you've got alignments, you've got centering, pretty much you've got horrible cropping, you've got pretty much everything here that you don't want to do. Yeah, I literally yelled looking at this.
Where do you find these? Oh my God, I am hurting so much looking at this.
That's the idea, is to cause you pain so that you guys learn from the experience. You're actually getting a headache.
There is so bad.
Look at the guy's head right in the middle. Okay, you've got, it's bisected in the back and it's trisected like a pizza, okay? It's terrible. The whole thing here is, but this is the idea to show you guys what to avoid. These are all, these are landmines. These are quicksand traps that everybody falls into once in a while, unless they're paying attention, unless they keep it simple and they figure out what the star of the show is in every single panel. You want to see something really, really beautiful that hopefully will salve the mental wounds that I've just inflicted on you? Hold on a second. I love the stairs. Yeah, exactly. Stairs, like every single one of those stairs is 2 feet tall, at least. All right, look at, not quite yet, one more before this. All right, which one of these, for example, has a greater feeling of depth? The one with the least silhouette or the one with the stronger silhouette?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's all about layering. It's all about trying to figure out how to avoid centering things or how to avoid making things look like they disappear into each other. I've looked at the one on the left here so often. You can, if you stare at it often enough, it actually looks like the items on the top are inside that box. Everything is composition. Everything. And the thing is that it's simple until you forget about it. So keep drawing. Keep doing these exercises. Okay. Here we are. Okay. This is Gluyas Williams. All right. This is from the New Yorker magazine, way, way back in time. It is a beautiful example of clarity in illustration, in staging. Lots of figures. There are literally 3 values here. Actually, yeah, there's white, there's black, and there's gray. The faces are baffling, yeah, but they're beautiful. Everything here, this is a really cluttered picture, but your eye moves across it like it's ice skating. Okay, it is so smooth. Lots of figures at once. There's a high horizon line that is completely obscured. And he chose that high horizon line so that we could get a clear view of everybody, without all the foreground ones blocking out the ones that are in the distance. There are staggered overlapping to arrange the figures so that they flow from the foreground into the distance. It's like a serpentine shape where and there's diminishing sizes, there's diminishing detail. They cluster together in certain points in order to provide overlap. And all of these elements contribute to this illusion of depth. The man to the far left looking at his tea. Yeah, I can't figure out his face either. Don't worry about it. Oh gosh, okay, I need to stop. Anyway.
I do love down shots a lot.
Down shots are great. They
I
can be
love
very
that.
dramatic. Sometimes you want upshots though, especially if the character is feeling out of control.
Yeah.
You see a lot of upshots in horror films. You see a lot of upshots in like court dramas, things like that. Anyway, so here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to do a couple of, if you haven't done them already, do some more. I want you guys to do some world building exercises. I want you guys to do at least 3 or 4 like illustrations of environments.
Ginger's gonna do 5.
Ginger will do 500. Great. Ginger can do 500. Everybody else, I want you to do some world building exercises. I want you to show me some of your characters, just like single images, right? They don't need to be complicated. They need to be simple, all right? But they need to show why the silhouettes of the buildings in your world, the vehicles in your world, the props in your world, why they are unique to your world. Could they be panels in a comic? Sure. You know, they can be horizontal, they can be vertical, they can just be a full page. It can be anything you want. I want at least 3 or 4. And I would like you to imagine that they are full compositions, a foreground, a midground, and a background.
Like
Just like,
Mobius.
just like what we were just showing. Yeah, exactly. Just like all the examples we were just showing you. They don't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better. Remember all the different things that we were just talking about diminishing returns when it comes to approaching the horizon. You know, it doesn't, you know, figure out like how to make your buildings unique as far as shapes go, so you don't have to worry about details so much. Yeah, figure out the style. Exactly. Eden, perfect. Think about this being a way to figure out the style and the location of how you want to do your comic. You know, it can be anything. It could be a little chase scene. It could be the character ordering a pizza. It could be the character going through trash. It could
And this
be,
could be a good way to also figure out your style economy, like not
yes.
going overly complicated. Think like, is this a style that I can continue to draw for X amount of panels versus being like treating this more like a proper illustration, you know, think of it in terms of that.
Nailed it on the head.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for saying that, Eden.
Maybe even time yourself if you can. Don't have, give yourself like 90 minutes, you know, per illustration, like tops, and see
That's
how
a
far you can get.
good, that's a good suggestion.
Okay, no more than like that.
Yeah. These are not full illustrations. These are just your descriptions of your world. And these are things that you should be able to utilize over and over again, or, you know, to redraw, or not redesign, but, you know, using this kind of style language and shape language and line language for your comic. And I think it was somebody in the breakout room, who was it, Ijuma, that drew some really beautiful pencil drawings, and they're gorgeous. So think about like, how would you be able to simplify that, just what you were showing, to create that richness of your backgrounds. Yes, you're welcome, Ijoma.
All right, everybody got it? 3 or 4 pages of just world building, or 3 or 4 images. You can do them digitally, it's fine. But try and make sure that each one has a foreground, midground, background, that they are some sort of environment. You can put characters in it. You can do whatever you want with it. Make them world building, okay? And have some fun with them. That's the idea. And try not to take more than like an hour and a half. If you want to do a little bit more, that's great. But try to keep them all about the same amount of time. That's it. Everybody good?
Yay. All right, what'd you guys think of class today? That's what I'm talking about. That's good. Epic. All right, any questions?
Good. I heard you guys. This is I saw a lot of like nosebleeds and people like head wounds and stuff like that. It was good.
All right, fun. Okay, that's awesome.
Ginger, stop sanding.
All right, you guys, thanks for joining us today. Keep up your awesome, epic work. Y'all are amazing. Keep it up. Have a good week. don't forget Tuesday is the Kidlit panel, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time with Lauren Pierre and Ann Appert and myself. And Caleb and Eden, you guys are actually more than welcome to join us too. So everybody, please join us, okay?
Bye,
Yes.
everybody. Great
Thanks,
job.
guys.
So proud
Good
of
luck.
Yes, all those images will be available in resources. I'll drop them all in there. Everything that I've shown you guys, especially the horrible ones.
Oh,